All praise is due to Allah, the most wise, the most merciful. Dear brothers and sisters, one of the greatest struggles of the human heart is learning how to trust when we cannot see the outcome. We plan, we hope, we work hard, and yet sometimes life unfolds in a way we did not expect. At that moment, doubt tries to enter our hearts. But this is where faith is tested and strengthened. Allah reminds us that He is Al-Hakim, the one whose wisdom is perfect. Our knowledge is limited, but His knowledge is complete. When something does not happen the way we wanted, it does not mean Allah has abandoned us. It often means He is protecting us from something we cannot see or preparing us for something better. Education teaches us that growth does not happen instantly. A seed must remain under the soil before it becomes a tree. In the same way, some of Allah's plans require patience. What feels like a delay is not a denial. It is a process, and every process has a lesson. Sometimes Allah removes something from our lives not to punish us, but to teach us reliance. Other times, He places challenges before us to strengthen our character, increase our humility, and draw us closer to Him. If everything came easily, we would forget to pray, forget to be grateful, and forget who truly controls our affairs. And when a door closes, we must remember that Allah is the one who controls all doors. If He closes one, He is fully capable of opening another, often one that is better for our faith, our future, and our hereafter. Our role is not to question His wisdom, but to improve our response. Never doubt Allah's plan, because every test carries guidance, every hardship carries mercy, and every tear shed in patience is counted. The believer learns, reflects, and grows through every experience. So when life feels heavy, remind yourself, Allah sees what I do not see. Allah knows what I do not know. And Allah's plan has never failed. May Allah grant us understanding hearts, patient souls, and unshakable trust in His perfect plan. Ameen. Trust or tawakkul is not a passive state of waiting for things to happen, and it is an active inner strength that shapes how a believer thinks, reacts, and moves forward in life. When a person truly places trust in Allah, they understand that effort and reliance go hand in hand. One works to the best of their ability, plans responsibly, and then hands the outcome to Allah with confidence. This balance creates emotional stability, because the heart is no longer burdened by the fear of failure or the obsession with control. Human beings naturally desire certainty. We want clear answers, predictable results, and immediate reassurance. Life rarely offers such clarity. This is where trust in Allah becomes essential. Tawakkul teaches that uncertainty does not mean chaos. Rather, it is a space where divine wisdom operates. When the heart accepts that Allah's decisions are based on perfect knowledge, anxiety begins to lose its grip. A trusting heart understands that even unanswered questions serve a purpose. Inner strength grows when a believer realizes that Allah is not distant from their struggles. Every difficulty is known, every silent prayer is heard, and every intention is recorded. This awareness transforms hardship into a source of resilience. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the believer learns to ask, "What is this teaching me?" This shift in perspective is educational because it trains the mind to seek wisdom rather than despair. Trust in Allah also protects the heart from excessive disappointment in people. Humans are limited, flawed, and prone to change. When expectations are placed entirely on people, disappointment is inevitable. Tawakkul redirects reliance away from creation and toward the Creator. This does not mean abandoning relationships or responsibilities, but it means understanding that people may fail while Allah never does. As a result, emotional balance is maintained even when others fall short. Another important aspect of trust is understanding timing. Many people lose hope not because something is impossible, but because it did not happen when they wanted it to. Trust teaches patience with divine timing. It reminds the believer that delays often serve as preparation. Skills are developed, character is refined, and faith is strengthened during waiting periods. What seems slow may actually be precise. This realization builds mental endurance and prevents impulsive decisions driven by frustration. Trust also nurtures gratitude. When a believer trusts Allah, they recognize that whatever they receive, whether it aligns with their desires or not, contains goodness. This mindset reduces constant comparison with others and protects against jealousy. Instead of focusing on what is missing, the heart learns to appreciate what is present. Gratitude then becomes a natural outcome of trust, strengthening emotional well-being. From an educational standpoint, trust in Allah trains self-discipline. It teaches restraint during anger, patience during hardship, and humility during success. A trusting person understands that success is not solely the result of personal effort, but also divine facilitation. This awareness prevents arrogance and encourages continuous learning and self-improvement. Trust also builds courage. Fear often comes from imagining worst-case scenarios and feeling alone in facing them. Tawakkul reminds the believer that they are never alone. Knowing that Allah is in control empowers a person to take ethical risks, stand for truth, and persevere through challenges without being paralyzed by fear of outcomes. Courage rooted in trust is calm, thoughtful, and purposeful. Ultimately, inner strength developed through trust is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and steady. It shows in patience during loss, dignity during hardship, and hope during uncertainty. Tawakkul reshapes the heart into a place of peace, not because problems disappear, but because the believer knows who holds the solution. Every delay and difficulty in life carries meaning, even when that meaning is not immediately visible. Human understanding is limited to the present moment, while divine wisdom spans past, present, and future. When something does not happen as planned, the natural reaction is frustration or self-doubt. Setbacks are often signals of redirection rather than rejection. What appears to be a closed path may actually be preventing harm or guiding a person toward a more suitable opportunity. Delays are particularly challenging because they test patience and emotional endurance. In an age where results are expected quickly, waiting can feel like failure. Yet many forms of growth require time. Knowledge deepens through repetition, skills mature through practice, and character strengthens through endurance. A delay may exist not because the goal is unattainable, but because the individual is still being prepared for it. Readiness is not always visible, but it is essential for long-term success. Difficulties also serve as moments of protection. There are outcomes that seem attractive but would ultimately bring harm to faith, character, or well-being. When Allah blocks such paths, it is an act of mercy, even if it feels painful at the moment. A person may later realize that what they once desperately wanted would have caused loss or regret. This understanding teaches humility and helps the believer trust that unseen protection is often greater than visible gain. Hardship has a powerful educational role. It exposes weaknesses that comfort often hides. Through difficulty, a person learns their limits, discovers inner resources, and develops emotional intelligence. Challenges force reflection, encouraging individuals to reassess priorities and intentions. Many people only recognize the value of gratitude, sincerity, and reliance after experiencing struggle. In this way, hardship becomes a teacher rather than an enemy. Redirection is another key aspect of divine planning. A failed plan does not mean failure as a person. It may indicate that the direction itself was not aligned with what is best. Being redirected can be uncomfortable because it requires letting go of familiar goals, or identities. Redirection often leads to paths that are more fulfilling, meaningful, and sustainable. The believer learns that success is not limited to one route. There are multiple ways to achieve purpose. Difficulties also refine character. Patience is not learned in ease, and resilience is not built without pressure. When a person responds to hardship with perseverance, they develop emotional maturity. This maturity allows them to handle future challenges with greater stability. Over time, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, not because life becomes easier, but because the individual becomes stronger. Setbacks also cultivate empathy. Experiencing difficulty makes a person more understanding of other struggles. It softens the heart and encourages compassion rather than judgment. This emotional awareness strengthens communities and relationships. People who have endured hardship often become sources of support and wisdom for others, transforming personal pain into collective benefit. Ultimately, delays and difficulties shift focus from immediate results to long-term growth. They teach that life is not solely about achieving goals, but about becoming better through the journey. When viewed through this lens, patience becomes productive, struggle becomes meaningful, and uncertainty becomes a space for trust. What once appeared as loss is then understood as guidance working quietly in the background,